this is, of course, a continuation. Oops, from the last one, but we haven't gotten tremendously far on that. So to recap where we're at so far, we have our game initializing. We have our Whack-A-Mole game object. We're attaching some DOM elements. We have a selector for it. We have initialized our game, created some moles, go through for our start game, initialize various moles for it, given our moles at least some ability to handle clicking. And we also have our mole sub object with various things like when to hide or show itself, when to how to determine whether or not it's going to appear next, and something to determine whether or not it should hide or show itself. Some ways to start timers and create its elements and basically start itself. So a few functions, but that was Bill's. That was Bill's Boolean heart. His game says, "I am happy because I'm working on my game."
He used to be happy. I love that happens playing games that just make me beyond frustrated.
Hide show code is the current branch.
Yeah, you broadcast these?
Not before.
Oh, okay. Yes, today. We're gonna be on TV.
That's right. See what our status is. We have a few things I didn't add apparently. So git commit -m updated show hide code and played with different mole attributes for size and speed.
I don't remember what I did last.
What's that?
That's a fantastic bullshit commit message for I don't remember what I did last.
Well, I remember the changes where we were trying different sizes and speeds of the moles hiding and showing. Should be master. That should be
various bug fixes and code tweaks.
Added characters, subtracted characters.
If you were if you were not sure though, you could do a git diff and it would show you the things that were changed in each one. Which one are we on?
Hide show code.
Hide show code.
Penalties.
And where we're at currently is a drug-induced, seizure-inducing, super hard version of our moles just randomly appearing. Come back here, come son of a. Okay, so let's slow this down. Let's ease it up a little bit.
Hide show code. If you do fetch and get branch -r, I'll show you.
I'll make this slightly larger for now.
It says you can't get the hide show code.
And I'm going to go up to my attributes in my moles and change the duration to something a little bit more reasonable. Put these out. These aren't exactly the easiest to understand as I look at it a week later. So show duration should be something like max should be like 3 seconds and min should be like 1 second. And the duration between them, 10 seconds is a bit much. Let's do like let's have rough parity between them. Maximum duration to hide for, maximum duration, sorry, minimum. Duration to show for, oops, and minimum duration to show for. That's a bit many moles, so I'm going to modify that too. And go down something sane like 10. Not 100. No, no, no. All right. And I'm also going to get rid of that text up there. Although realistically, on game start, I could also just clear the area too, but I really don't need that text there. Get my spectre up. And I'm going to go to my JavaScript and take out some of the console logs for the hiding showing, since I'm not really working on that anymore. Okay, so if I click on something and it's up, okay, if it's up, I can see it, good. So it's successfully registering the hits. I think that there is a cursor crosshair. So just for that sake, I probably should. Yeah, whatever.
What did you change your configurations to?
At least it's somewhat a little closer. And this one, cursor, what else we got? I changed the values, by the way, Sloan, to it was a 1,000, 3,000 respectively on both. 1,000 for the min, 3,000 for the max. I'm also about to push it, so. Container. What else we got that might be good for this? Cell, what's cell do? Oh, like a plus thing. Progress. Okay, at least there's some differentiation for the moment. There, progress. All right, now before you had sent me also like the dirt without the mole, right?
Yeah, you should have 3: the mole without the dirt, dirt without the mole. And
The two together?
Yeah.
All right, so I guess, yeah, that should still be there.
You saved them.
I did all, but I didn't save the dirt one. I think so. There's what? No, the mole without the dirt. Okay.
Yeah, because first I gave you just the dirt.
Yeah. So let me.
Even 30.
I gave Dan a dirty mole.
Oh, the deprecations. The depravities.
That's not dirt.
Looks like one of the Pac-Man ghosts in a hot Halloween costume.
It looks like I've got the mole down, the mole up. Oh, okay, then there. No, I do have the mole. I did apparently get it at some point. So that's just mole, and so mole combo. Mole dirt, actually, dirt and mole. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the dirt as something over the top of it, but I don't really want to have to make a change to the HTML within my DOM creation. So I'm going to use a pseudo element for this. All right. First off, make sure that my CSS works properly because I did change some of the names. So mole up was the one that was previously used. I want to have it as just mole. Okay, there's our just mole. And then on my mole container, because I don't want it on the mole because the mole keeps disappearing and reappearing, keeps moving. After content, you got to put something or else it doesn't work. Background dash image URL images / mole dirt.
After doesn't work without content?
After or before doesn't work without content. If you don't put it at all, it'll never show up.
Okay.
It has to have some size, so width will be 100% and height will be, I'll just start with like a solid 50, or sorry, static 50 pixels for now.
Is that percent of mole container? Or?
Of mole container, yeah. Position absolute and bottom 0 and left 0 for completionist sake. And on mole container, I'm going to put position relative so that the thing doesn't go crazy and go relative to the parent container. All right, so let's see where it's at. There's our mole container. There's our after. Now it probably needs a Z index. Z dash in. Ooh, no, didn't like that.
Do you have empty string as content or space as content?
Space. It shouldn't make a difference, but I'll try putting a letter in there.
When Tim and I were doing this, it didn't. He had empty string and it didn't work, and space worked.
That's more so when it's not absolute. Okay, so there's our letter, but our image isn't showing up. Hover over this, see if it actually opens. Okay, there's the dirt. We might need to do things like background dash size cover. And then background dash repeat, no repeat. I'm gonna give it a background color so I can see where it's at. Let's do green.
Why was it repeating?
Hmm?
Why was it repeating?
Because that's what it does by default.
Oh, okay.
If it's smaller than the available size, it will.
Gotcha. Okay.
but thinks it's the entire way across. In fact, that is what it says. Let me look at the size of this image. Seems to be a lot bigger than that. So, hello. The image itself is 300 by 300. Oh, that's why. Because I told it to, so your image is full size, height wise. And I told the container to be 10%. So it's cramming it down to 300 pixels into like 20 pixels high.
10%?
Or 50 pixels basically. Because the entire thing is right now 30 V min, the entire area is like 700 pixels, so 30% of that. It's very small. They're trying to cram something 300 tall into a few 50 pixels tall. So we need to take into account that, but I don't want to though, because then it will absorb the clicks. So I'm gonna have to modify the image. To the rescue, Super Gimp Squirrel.
It's a Bible water.
Bible water?
It's a blue water.
Yes. Okay, so actually, I want to do is select this, mask select. Ooh, there's a little bit of area where it's a little bit not shaved. I'm going to adjust the threshold down since it's all basically one color. Try that again. Not quite. First thing I'm going to do then is I'm going to clear that. Clear. All right. Now it just looks like Mr. Hanky the Christmas Pooh on his deathbed. And then I selected the open area, and then I'm going to select invert. And I got like a couple little scrapper guys right there that I'm going to have to remove. So I'll just take in. There it goes. And band select around them to get rid of them. That seems good. And then I'm going to image crop to selection, and now it's only the size that I need. So it does help to at least have at least basic GIMP or Photoshop skills. So at least you can modify these things without having to go crawling to your artists. Not that I wouldn't want to crawl to you, Sloan, but some are not so personable as you. Apparently, I got to crawl past you to get to him, so that's what you signed up for. Okay, so mold dirt, export, replace, and now, yay! Now I got to adjust a little bit though. So rather than trying to figure that out, I'm going to just take from the bottom 0 pixels and then just start nudging it upward. This image is not quite aligned with that, but that's okay. Good enough for now. So that's 20 pixels. I could make it more dynamic, but for now, I'm just going to allow it to be that. Refresh, make sure it works right. Now, it does mean I could click down here also to get the mole. I'm not going to worry about that so much right now. Although I do kind of want, maybe rather than moving the dirt up, I want to move the mold down. I think that's what I want to do. Because I don't want that space down below. Because also I'm going to make him pop up from behind. I want to use overflow hidden to hide him. But if he's actually down below the thing, you actually see for like a little bit of below the dirt as he moves up and down. So I'm going to take the mole. And I got to move him up and down anyhow, so I might as well just do the position absolute thing. And bottom 0 pixels, left 0 pixels. See that that does for me. And then move him down by an amount. So let's say minus 20 pixels. Now, normally I wouldn't condone negative values like that. But in this case, because I'm making it pop up and down anyway, that's perfectly fine. It's like if something flows from outside on the right, you want it to be outside the very area. If you're going from, say, the left, you want it to be outside the area. I might instead use transform translate, which I might still do. But for now, I'll use this. Oh, right, I didn't do it on the right thing. That should not be on the mole. That should be on the mole container.
What's with the weird green?
The weird what green?
Oh, half the screen is.
Because that's the background of the game area. The background of the mole container right now is lavender, so I can see it. Yeah, it's not going to win any beauty contest, certainly.
That's not right. Can we either add or remove 2 moles?
No, I'm gonna let it drive you nuts. Learn to get used to disappointment. You're gonna find that as a developer, you're going to have to develop a thicker skin for things not being quite right. Especially if they offend your sensibilities, understanding that there are priorities to what you have to try to modify. So like, for example, Scott has tremendous OCDs having to do with things like typos and bugs. So the first time when he started working on the website, when he was trying to implement a feature, it took him 4 times as long to implement it because every typo he came across, he had to fix. Every typo. And while that's all well and good, none of those typos were as valuable as the feature he was trying to implement. So you're going to have to just get used to, I'm letting it go. I'm letting it go and move forward. I have to as well. I don't like it either, but it's not important right now. Sometimes I'll indulge it, but not always. Okay. Now I want to make them pop up and down. I think at this point it's probably a good time for a new branch. So let's commit the code we've got so far. Git add dot git commit dash m repositioned mole added dirt adjusted sizing of visuals for initial implementation of show hide functionality. And do my end quote, git push origin show, oops, sorry, hide show code. And now I'm going to make a new branch. This one is going to be where the mole is actually going up and down rather than just appearing. It could be part of high showed code. I want to get you used to the idea of making new branches. I wouldn't necessarily make a new branch just for like making it rise and fall, but I want to get you used to the idea of as soon as you make a new feature or you start working on a new thing, make a new branch. Because it's a lot easier to be surgical about what things you want to include or not include if you have branches and commits behind them that you can then select or deselect. So git checkout dash b rise fall mole. And I'll push this. So we have a version up there for you to draw from. Okay, so what do we want to do? Well, I say we just give up. Call the whole thing off. Obviously, if I'm going to hide and if I'm going to make it rise and fall, that's basically in the hide and show code, which means I really want to do it down here because right now, well, I've got DOM mole display.hide, and DOM mole display is my visible element of the mole on the page. So if I want to make this happen, I want to make it happen down here. So effectively what I want to do is I want to apply probably a class, either up or down, or I want to do an animation. There's pros and cons to each. What is the pro that you can see in using a class? What's one we discussed before? Your silence is incredibly encouraging. Who can modify CSS?
This guy. That guy. This
Almost any programmer, regardless of whether they know JavaScript or jQuery. If you know any of those, you probably know at least enough CSS to modify a class. It's very easy to experiment with too. If I do it as an animation, i.e. not like a CSS animation, but a jQuery animation, who can modify that?
less people.
Yeah, less people, i.e. only those that know jQuery and how to use the animate function. Well, it's not necessarily that, it's not rocket science, right? But that means that all of your UX, all of your UI people, a majority of them won't know how to modify the animation anymore. So as you're making code, you may want to take that into account, is how easy is this for the other people to modify after the fact? From a programmer standpoint, if you're going to get bosses that want just the little tiny things changed, like, oh, can you make that animation like 10% faster? If it's CSS, then that means anyone can make that change. You can say, hey, yeah, go get, you know, John over there at styling to do it. If it's an animation, you have to do it, or one of your other programmer minions. Do you understand the difference? It's a difference between whether someone that could be programming something more useful has to do the change, or someone that is more of a style monkey can do the change. And no real demeaning to anybody that is in that aspect of things. It's a valuable part of it. It's stuff I don't want to do. And that's really ultimately the goal. The downside of CSS is I don't have as tight control over it in changing it on a moment's notice. I can animate things in a much more fluid way in code if I had to. Bless you. So as I look at this, I have to make a decision between more control or ease of update. What are your guys' thoughts? Brian? For those of you listening on the video, yes, this room does have people in it. Any at all? What would you rather have, more control or have someone else, if it has to be updated, someone else does it? Sean? Anyone can do it? Michael?
Since this is just a project for us, we don't really,
I can't hear you.
since nobody else, we don't really expect anyone else to work on it. It's just a project.
Program like you mean it. I don't care what you do. program like this is going to go live, right? Don't put profanity into your comments. Don't do things that you wouldn't be proud having on your portfolio. It can be that it's not in a state yet to be fully out there, right? But the intention is eventually to get it there. The intention is to be that this is going to be a production game on like an iPhone or something like that, right? So never take it as, well, it's only going to be us looking at it. That's a very, that won't lead you to a good place eventually. Yes, sir.
From a different point of view, I know how to do it in CSS. I'm not sure how you do it in jQuery, so I'd like to see how you do that.
Okay, I can do both. Tammy?
Well, that would be easier to adjust to our liking if you did it with CSS.
Yeah, a bit more. It would be easier to adjust it. So first I'll do it in CSS, and then I might adjust it over to jQuery. So, and the more control thing does give us an option. For example, if the mole is rising, I could do something where I award more points if you get it while it's rising as opposed to when it's up. And that would be easier in JavaScript rather than doing CSS. There is a way of doing it in CSS. There's an event for basically it says, when the CSS attributes have stopped changing, fire this event. So if I were doing it as a class, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off my moles operation. I'm going to make them so they're not hopping up and down all the time. Go up to start sequence. I think I have start game here. Yep, there's start game. And I'm going to comment out start sequence. I'm going to move this function up to the top so I know that this is my basically initiation function. And just to make sure they'll stay up. Okay, good. Now I need some CSS at least to do this. I can say dot mole. Do I want to start it up or down? I probably want to start it down. So down. Mole down. Get a medic. Get a molic. That doesn't remotely work. Oh, I know it's Year of the Rooster and all. And then I'm going to apply it to all of them by default. So in my mole creation one, I'm going to add mole and mole down. Maybe I'll actually make an attribute like whether or not to start them by default. So I think I like that idea. So I'm going to put up here is this dot start mole down equals true. And then down here I can say, now I could put an if statement there would combine things together, but I think it's time to get a little ternary on your asses. So a ternary is a short form if statement. So I'll show you a very basic example all by itself so you can see. Does anybody here know what a ternary is? Raise your hands, please, if you do. All right, so a few of you do. How many of you have you used a ternary? Just nodding your head, just yeah. Using ternary like yeah. Coding that shit like yeah. So var A is equal to true. Var B is equal to hello plus, and then a ternary is basically something that evaluates true or false, followed by a question mark, followed by the true part, followed by a colon, followed by the false part. So something that evaluates a true false. As a more elaborate, more explicit thing, I'll say A is equal to true, question mark, dude and colon dudette. And console.log b. So put in there, it does nothing because JSBin hates me. If I try putting this entire thing. There it goes. So this is hello dude, and if I put this as false, then it is hello dudette. So all it really did, the ternary part, I put this in here, something that evaluates a true or false, followed by a question mark, followed by whatever it's going to be if it's whatever it's going to do if it's true, a colon, and whatever it's going to be if it's false. The equivalent of this would be something like this. If A is equal to true, B is equal to hello plus, dude. I don't have to type that out like that, but just to make it more equivalent. And B is equal to hello plus dudette. So these two statements are effectively equivalent.
Dan, in ternary, could you take out every one of the parentheses?
Everyone, well, I could do this one, for example. I can't take out that other one because then that causes a problem with the concatenation, apparently. Oh, no, it seems like it does. Maybe it just was that.
Having the A equals true in the parentheses. That's what's in
Yeah, it was evaluating the parentheses, perhaps. So I usually put them in parentheses just to make it more explicit, like what this ternary is. So
I got a question.
Yeah.
What is a question mark doing there specifically?
it's just a separator between the truthy test and the true expression.
Okay.
The part after the question, the part from here to here, is what happens if it's true. Whether they're statements, or in this case, I'm taking this value, this string, and it's being concatenated. So whatever this returns will be concatenated onto the string.
Okay. And what is this called again?
A ternary.
Ternary.
Ternary, I think.
You think of it first thing. Is it true?
If you've ever used conditionals in Excel spreadsheets, then it's somewhat similar to how that works, except that's like kind of a function, but it's the same thing. You have an if statement. A Excel spreadsheet if statement is something like this, like if A equals true, semicolon, what do you do if it's true, semicolon, or sorry, comma? And what do you do if it's false? That is what it would look like in Excel, in Visual Basic in Excel. That's how they do it, an if statement in a cell in Excel. So if you've ever seen something like that, it's a very similar structure, except instead of the commas, you have different delineations. So some would then say, why would you not use a ternary? Well, when I first encountered a ternary way back in the day, when the earth was cold and lava crossed the land, and Google was nigh a thing that could really happen. Imagine going to something like Alta Vista and saying, and trying to look up, what the fuck is this? If I didn't tell you what this was, how would you look it up? Well, it's something with a question mark and a colon, right? not going to be simple to find. It took me years to stumble across it. Now, if you go to any computer science course, they could probably tell you right away. But it's not necessarily new programmer friendly. It's also not readability friendly. You miss the colon, you miss the question mark. It's going to be hard to know what's going on. So you want to avoid it from a readability standpoint. Not all developers are going to be as adroit in necessarily detecting it. The time that it saves you in typing it is not necessarily beneficial.
So at that point, you would rather us do
An if statement. An if else, yeah. It's going to be more readable to the majority of developers. Now, why would you use it? Obviously, it's there. Someone didn't just do it. Well, okay, that's a falsehood. There might have been a person that just put it in there to fuck with people. It's entirely possible. Early programmers were quite trolly. The reason is, especially when you get to things like PHP and other languages that can embed code in the middle of like another code base like HTML, is that trying to put this if statement across multiple lines in PHP really makes for truly ugly HTML. So as an example, phpfiddle.org. Some of you guys don't know PHP. It's okay. It looks a lot like JavaScript. If I had something like A is equal to true, and then down here somewhere I had, let's say like div and class is equal to something. Here's our mole, for example, and this is a mole. Or sorry, I like this is Mole Town. And down here, I want to say like, okay, if it's true, add this other class. Now I could do something up here like this. If A is equal to true to really make it explicit, I would normally not just put the equals true part. New class is equal to mole up. Mole up. And then down here, I would say something like equals new class. This is basically just taking that variable and pasting it into that area. So what you'd wind up getting is, when you run it, here's our mole up class embedded in there. That's one way of handling it, but it detaches the logic from where the logic is expressed. It moves them by a substantial amount. There could be a whole lot of code between those 2 points, potentially. And you could do where you break it out and you have that little section of logic. You have that little section of logic just before like this, but then now you have these weird little logic blocks. And the more logic blocks you do like that, the more opportunity you have to screw up people with HTML and CSS knowledge only that are trying to fix your code, or at least the HTML, CSS. So a way to make that a bit better is to do something like this. Take this stuff here, for example, and put that into here. But now I'm breaking up my div just to get this code. Now I've got my div starting up here and finishing way down here. That makes it very hard to read. So here is a great place for a ternary. So if I take this code, I'm going to put it like this div twice just to show you the difference. If I then say, this less than question mark equal means print this, whatever's coming next. And I say a question mark. If it's true, then it's mole up. And if it's false, it's nothing. Yes. It's a structure that predates both JavaScript and PHP. So as you're reading this, which would you, oops, did that one on the next line? Get rid of this. Which would you rather, oh, I see, I have it twice. Which would you rather want to look at? This thing with this big ass if statement in the middle of the class declaration, or this thing? I mean, I could do it all in one line. I could do this. And that works too, but now it's an ugly if statement in the middle of all that. So that's a use of ternary. That's a valid use, where you're trying to keep your code compact and compartmentalized. All right, so that was quite the rabbit hole. Let's go back. Okay, so what the hell were we trying to do here? All right, make them pop up and down. So back to my code. Down here, I'm going to do plus, and then if this dot start mole down, this dot start mole down, question mark, mole down, and otherwise nothing. I think you can also leave off the colon. I never really do it with that, just to make it more complete, but I think you can leave off the colon and the false part technically. So now it should have completely broken code. Awesome. Oh, because it's starting to mole down. But mole down didn't have anything in it. That's weird. Must have screwed up mole then. Oh, it didn't. How peculiar. Interesting. Didn't like that in there. See that, Sloan? When I didn't have it in the parentheses, I guess maybe I have to have, so I did this, it just, oh, that's why I didn't do it as a ternary. It did it like, for example, like that. Maybe that'll work. Oh, still broken. It took this as a concatenation, I think, or didn't. It doesn't have mole in it. Like there's nothing there. And if I did it with this, then it's just mole down, not mole. So it somehow evaluated in some other way. So I'll try to figure that out at some point. To do figure out why ternary screwed up JS concatenation. All right, so now it's mole and mole down. Now let's make it actually mean actually down. So I'm going to go down to my mole down class, and I'm going to put transform translate y negative 20% to see what it does. 20%. That goes in the wrong way, so it should be plus. There we go. It's like.
Why are your games so valid?
Yes, but now where is it? So 20%, 100%, 90%, 80%. It's like right on the cusp there. I won't have the white background though, or red background. So 70%, okay, a little bit too much. 75%. That's just about right. I'll go 70. Sorry, 80. does mean I could potentially click here and always hit it. That could be a potential bug in the future, but I'm not caring about that so much just yet, although I will. Oops, I don't want to do that. So mole down will be transform translate y 80%. Anybody need an explanation of what that's doing? So transform has a series of functions that it can do. Scale, I think there's skew, there's rotate. Transform moves something. And it moves it by a distance equal to the element itself. Normally, like for left, right, top, bottom, height, and width, that's all a percentage of the parent, not the element itself. So, for example, if I were to say here instead of 20 pixels, I would say like 20%. It wouldn't move it by a height of the mole. It would move it by a height of the container. But for transform, it moves it by a percentage of the element itself that it's on. So it allows me then, if my mole wasn't exactly the height of the container, to not have to guess at it. Also, one of the fun things about transform that's actually an advantage over JavaScript, at least as far as I can get it to do, is that if I use, for example, like transform 3D, I think there is one, or at least rotate 3D. I don't know if there's a translate one. For example, rotate 3D in most browsers, if possible, tries to make use of the video card for the calculations. Whereas this one, if I just did like regular rotate, not rotate 3D, uses the CPU, which is not as adroit at doing 3D calculations. The CPU is a generic processor. It can do anything, but it can't do anything as well as something that's focused. It's like a Swiss Army knife is never going to be the best screwdriver, nor is it going to be the best scissors, nor is it going to be the best hammer or whatever else is in there. But it is able to do anything. Whereas a hammer or a screwdriver, a real one, like a drill gun, only can do turning a screw, but it does it really, really well. So a CPU, which is what that would be altering, can do it, just not as well, which means that I will have less efficiency in my code, which means I won't be able to animate as many things at once. All right. So let's make it happen, Captain. Now, I don't want it to just pop up and down necessarily, but I'm going to go for that route first, just to sort of program this incrementally. I don't want to jump ahead in logic just because I know I need to do it. So instead of mole display hide and show, we're going to add and remove that class that makes it go down. So for hide, we want to add class this.dom mole display dot add class mole down. And similarly, I want to remove class mole down when it goes back up. So now, if I go back up to here and in my mole, really I shouldn't have commented out this one. I should have commented out this one, the start game one, or at least returned out. So I'll do that in the future. Or actually, why did I do this? Game is running. Well, I really should change that later on. So now they're instantly popping up, right? It's taking off the transform translate, which moves it back to where it would have been before. I want this to happen over time. So I'm going to go to the mole and put in transition-duration I'm going to put long things so you can see it in operation. So like 1 second. So with a couple of lines of CSS, now it's animating. And my phone is ringing. Does anyone not understand how that happened?
It was transition duration. That
Yeah.
Okay.
What's transition duration do?
It looks
Anyone?
like it times out the duration of the transition.
Not times out. That's
Or not. Well, time out would be the wrong word. But
transition duration. Anything that is an animatable property will, instead of instantly changing from one to the other, will change over that time period. And you can also specify like multiple durations for different properties.
okay.
Like for
How would you
example,
select them?
like for example, if I chose this to be green, for example, the green color changed over time. Or purple. Or orange. Right. So if something is animatable, if you go to W3 Schools and you see a CSS property, and in the listing for it, it said that animatable true, like W3 CSS color. That's actually a bad one to look up. Let me try something that's a little more distinct, like 8. So if you scroll down to here, you'll see animatable yes, which means this one can be transitioned over time. There are a few that cannot, but not many. Like, for example, I do opacity, you know, fading in, fading out, fading in, fading out. So I'm going to go back to my CSS, oops, and put in transition dash duration. 1 second actually seemed pretty good. But if I want different speeds for, like, say, the up and the down, I can do that too. But it's a little bit counterintuitive. First thing, I'll just refresh it and show the code working as it is. So what do you want to do? You want to go up faster or down faster? Michael?
Down faster.
Down faster. So one would think that, what would you think you'd want to apply? Because I can put a transition speed on both the mole and on mole down, like different ones. So for example, if I did this as 5 seconds and I did this as transition, dash duration 3 seconds, which one will be faster, the up or the down?
I think that the transform is on the mold down. So going down, go for 3 seconds.
So let's explore it. First off, let's just look. I mean, I'll make this substantially different so you can see a difference in it. There's no possible way we can confuse 1 second and 5 seconds. Kind of little slide buggers there, huh?
Shy hesitant mole.
Oh shit!
No. No.
How would you react to
This is the moles have learned their lesson.
So it starts the max mid time, the base, or when it starts moving up.
We'll understand when those properties are applied, right? Mole has transition duration 5 seconds, which is mole down, that class is only applied to it when it's down. That means that the 1 second will only be applied to it when the class mole down is applied to it. Well, when the class mole down is applied to it, that's when it's going down. So 1 second would be the duration as it's going down. Whereas normally it would be 5 seconds. So when mole down isn't on it, it wants to go to the top. And so it does so over 5 seconds. If you take this as, like, say, 2 seconds, oh, kind of like the koi mole.
What days we grow?
All right, so that is basic up and down functionality of CSS. I'm going to take and I'm going to get add done, get commit -m added basic up down functionality with CSS, and then I'm going to push branch get push origin rise fall mole, and I'm then going to do get checkout -b rise fall mole JS. I'm going to strip out the CSS and I'm going to change it to JavaScript instead. Okay, so first things first, I want to get rid of the transition stuff. Anybody have questions on this, by the way, before I strip it out? I may need to not do it transform translate. I may need to do it like with top and left and such to make it move appropriately, but because animate may not be able to use the mole down functionality. Sorry, the translate functionality. Okay. Going back to our JavaScript, go down here to this code, and I'm going to strip out the class stuff. So what I need to use is the jQuery. In this case, I'm going to use the jQuery method called animate. And if we look that up, if we look it up, it's a selector with the animate function, and then an object that is a list of parameters, the speed of that animation, and then a callback function to execute when the animation is done.
So what kind of parameters would it be? What did you say?
Anything that you're animating, like
So
left,
the
like
thing
like
that
top
you're
plus 20 pixels, for example.
okay.
So, for example, here, apparently there's a few defaults going on here. So it's just animating left over a period of time. So if we start that animation, it does it in 1 second. It adjusted the left value by 250 pixels over the course of 1 second. If I were to go over here and change this to 5,000, because it's in milliseconds, I could also adjust things like top 100 pixels. Apparently, that was well, weird. It seemed like it went up a very little bit for some reason. About -400. I gotta rerun it. Here. There it goes. Woo! I'm afraid I must go back to my home planet now. Then also you can give it a function. So for example, I can put an anonymous function here and then alert I am gone. And once it's done, the function got called. So if I wanted something to happen after some animation happened, or like say another animation, I could do them sequentially. Like go from here to here, then go from here to here and here to here, whatever you want to do. So in my code, I need to do some sort of animation. Well, I'm going to kind of hard code it at first to make it work. So when I'm hiding, I want to go down. When I'm showing, I want to go up. Right now, even though it's supposed to start down, there's nothing that's going to do that. Well, the transform translate would. So let's see if on show, we can make it go up. So this dot dom mole display dot animate, and inside there is going to be an object with transform translate y, and I don't think this is going to work, but 0%. Well, when it goes showing, I want it to not transform down. What's making it right now?
But don't you need to directly modify the position on the y-axis as opposed to apply a transform?
I might need to. Right, like I said, I don't know if animate can animate the transform translate property. I think it can't, but I'm going to give it a shot just to see if it will. 2000, and that's all I'm going to do there. And make sure it's actually doing something. Console.log Euler. Yeah, so it's not working on that. So I'm gonna have to change it. I'm gonna have to change mole down. There might be ways of doing it better with that, but I don't want to. I know of other ways I can do it. So rather than transform translate down, I'm gonna say. See, now this is the part where it's harder because now it's not based off percentage of the element itself. Now it's going to be based off a percentage of the height of the parent. I'm going to have to guess a little bit more. So bottom, say -100%, because they were about the same height as each other. And this one will override mole, at least for that property, because of y. Yadi? Why will this bottom override this bottom? Is it? Mole down is a class, right? Mole is also a class. What are your other options? Say again? It's lower, right? What do we call that? Sloan? Yeah, or a good. It's cascading, right? It's lower on the list, therefore it's going to achieve its goal. If I wanted to be more assured it's going to do that, like I could do give.mole down, and now it will always override because it's a little bit more specific.
When like developing a game like this, when you're working with a team,
I could also say .mole down with no space. Mole, and it has to be mole down, and then that's also more specific. Yes, sir.
when you're working on a game like this, like with a team, do most of them just like rely like on cascading, or would they rather be more specific with their?
I'd rather be more specific because the moment if that CSS ever got moved above mole, it would never work.
Yeah.
You're relying too much on chance. But then again, that's how most media queries work too. So it's not necessarily that bad.
Okay.
It's just a little bit more chance on this one than I want to take. And then over in my JavaScript, I'm going to say bottom, and it's going to go to
Zero.
no, not 0, because it was at negative 20 pixels, I think, on the other one. Yeah, I'm going to do negative 20 pixels. Negative 20 pixels. So now they're all going up because I didn't tell it to go back down. Actually, that was kind of silly because the mole down should be that. That's right. Okay. Now the reason why this is overriding is because animate changes the inline style directly, which overrides everything. So it does make it a little bit uncertain at times because now I'm modifying that. In order to remove this animation, I would have to clear the CSS. Or sorry, at least the inline style. So then up here, I'm going to take this and I'm going to go to animate it, and instead of this, I'm going to be 100%. Oh! It didn't really like. It didn't really like the adjustment going, I think, between pixels and percents. So I'm going to try to convert this to a percent.
It'd be perfect if you just flip the mole image so that they're cooking down.
Yeah. Oh my. Yeah, it's going a bit high for the.
It's the rapture.
20%. I don't know why it's going all the way up there when it's showing. I'm going to take out this code temporarily and see what's going on. It's still going a bit high, but oh, the 20%. Okay, so that's why. 10%. Oh, that's why. They're both going simultaneously.
What? Wait, what's going simultaneously?
Both animations were trying to happen simultaneously.
I think it's Jason's fault.
Probably. Chances are.
It's still 2.2%. Actually, what I really should do is, rather than messing with this way, I should go to down and mess with that.
It seems like it wants to be 0.
Well, what I'll do is I will turn there, and then go to my mole starts down. is false. It should just stay up. And then I'm going to modify this to be, rather than 20 pixels, is 1%. 0%. Nope. No, that's right, because negative 20 pixels, that's why. Negative 2%. Negative 4%, 5%, 6%. 8%. Okay. True. This game starts running equals true. If this game starts running, if not, this game starts running, turn. All right, I got one place to do that. And then down here, negative 8%. Okay. So now, that's a monster. What I need to do is I need to stop the animation before I start the next animation, because there's a potential that I think that if I do this, for example, really quick, this should be never really a problem.
Just match up your max and min times for.
Yeah, but I would rather not make it like, then I'm trying to, I'm a race condition waiting to happen. Oh, nope, that didn't seem to make a difference. All right. Huh?
Is your bottom negative?
Fucking raptor. Yeah, but still going. Why? I mean, it's not even like if I return here, this should not happen. Or nothing will happen? Or am I on the wrong one? Oh. That's why. It's hiding first. I think it's hiding first, that's why. And bottom 100%, that would make sense. Be bottom, because bottom 100% would push it from the bottom all the way to the top. That's why it's happening. So in reality,
Can you put top numbers?
no, you don't want to switch between them like that, because then it's going to possibly animate both at the same time.
It'll just be a shaking mode.
So I need like negative 100%. And oh, I gotta turn my.
You take out the return.
Did I have it in there still? I thought I took it out. No, it is. There you go. Although I did like, we were temporarily making every mole sees the rapture. Did you ever hear that game? Everyone's Gone to the Rapture. There's a game that was made called Everyone's Gone to the Rapture or something like that. And it's basically it's an exploration game where you're just going around and finding out what the hell happened, but it's pretty much in the title, Everyone's Gone to the Rapture. Yeah. So everyone's gone to the rapture, that's why there's no one there.
I wonder if there'll be someone around this one. Everyone's gone to the rapture.
Whole point is just a fruitless search.
Yeah, and then all the little clues and everything is basically like the Davy and Goliath, you know? gee, Davey, it's like, oh, my sister was so good, and then hey, we're all going to round 3. That's how it. Anyway, as opposed to what question? A different question, other than the question of God.
So you know how all the moles go up? They could go up at the same time. What if we only have certain moles go up?
Well, yeah, you want to eventually make it where it's not all just like peekaboo on all of them, right?
Yeah.
You want to make it where it's only a few at a time. But if anything, if I can teach you, is that it doesn't matter at first what that next step is. Beyond it, it matters this step, and then you can get to that step, right? I knew going into it, I didn't want to do that all at once, popping up and down. But you wouldn't know that necessarily starting for the first time.
Right.
So, and the only reason I knew about it was I did something like this the very first time, like, oh, hey, that's not what I want to do. So I'm trying to do it from a standpoint of if I had never done this at all, ever, what would I do? So now we basically have to decide, okay, it's popping up and down. Now we got to shoot some moles. We got to whack some moles here. There's going to be some whacking going on. At the very least with the click. So when they click, what do we want to have happen?
Want it to go back down.
Yeah,
Immediately.
immediately handle hit. So I can go up here, and now because I have this .hide functionality, I can say this .hide, and it goes right back down. Theoretically, I'm going to.
First you take away the rapture, now you shoot.
Yeah. Getting a little wily. Oh, right, because I didn't unset the click thing. So they should never come back up. Theoretically, they shouldn't come back up if they're hit. But I do want them to come back up, so I just need to strip off the I've been hit thing. Like I can't click them a second time. Mole was hit, but they're not doing. No, actually, I think that's something else going on. Let's do on show not do next action and see what happens.
Also modify the hide to take in the parameter of the duration, and then make it hide at a different duration when you click it.
Yeah, mole was hit, it's still functioning, but it's not going back down. So I'm going to do an initial click hit, and then get push origin rise fall mole JS. So I push the code. I want you guys to find the error. While I go find the error in that.
It's fetch get fetch, get check out, rise, fall.
Is it Friday yet?
Sure.
Yeah.
Mole, J.
Yes.
Yeah. You're on the hackathon team, so that's all.
What are you guys building for your hackathon?
No idea. I think that we're talking about today.
You should build an app that finds food fast.
I feel like I have a hunch that I've seen that before.
Get fetch, go in, check out the range, get check out rise.
Why would I make it then?
To make it better.
Don't ever
So you can make it better? No.
rise, fall, mold, nails.
It's impossible.
For every word of the first letter.
Oh man, dude, I'm just. I'm just. It's so bad. So it was a live presentation this morning. I'm not about to.
Well, it's still live. So hopefully I didn't. Good. I never actually checked the microphone, so I want to make sure it was actually on the entire time. All right, so let's take a look.
I never want a hot mic problem, right?
Well, it's hot right now, so and it's also public.
Uh-oh.
So unless you want people to know what you're thinking. Okay, so Mole hit. Well, the comment came from here. Mole has been hit. So did anybody find it yet? There's entirely possible that we haven't actually been calling handle hit. So I'm going to put down here console.log handle hit called. Rise from the grave. Okay, click. And he comes back up. All right. Nope, not calling the other one. So it's just a matter of it hasn't been reset. So when it hides, as long as it has already hidden, it should reset itself. Well, do I have something that resets the stats or anything? I don't remember if I did that or not. Their start game has been hit false, but I'm going to make this dot reset hit state equals a function. I'm going to put this dot has been hit is equal to false. And now, because I have the same code in two different places, warning signs are going off in my head. I don't want the same code in two different places, if possible. So I'm going to take this one out, and I'm going to say this dot reset hit state. Does that, if it doesn't make sense, please ask.
Just to make sure you're calling the function from line 73 to that to line 70, right?
No, I'm calling from 70 to call line 73.
Right.
Because I want to move has been hit, the reset hit state, into its own function and then call that function from many places. Also, so too, do I want to do down here is when it's hidden, I want to also reset the hit state. But the thing is, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it here. Even though it's almost right, that means is as it's animating down, I could potentially click on it again because of the asynchronous nature of animate. So this function tells it to start animating, but then immediately goes down to here and resets the hit state. That means for only a fraction of a second is my mole on its way down not clickable. I see looks on your faces. I'm gonna ask a question. I know, and I want to see who's lying. Understands what's going on with when I said that just now. All right. Who doesn't understand? All right. Good. Truth tellers. I'm going to extend this animation out quite a bit to show you the problem. So as it hides, it'll do that. And I'm going to disable temporarily to do next action. That way it won't like animate again while it's doing it. So did I not? Oh, probably because it starts with hide. Huh? Oh, there it goes. All right, so as I click on it, I can click on it again and again and again. You see the score there incrementing? Because here's what happened in this, in the code. We did the whole has been hit thing in order to prevent it from being hit multiple times as it's going up and down, right? So right here it says, well, if this has not been hit, i.e., not has been hit, then tell the parent to handle mole click, and the parent then comes back to us and tells us, okay, yeah, you can be hit. Go ahead and handle your hit. Well, right down here, we're resetting that state back to false, setting our hit state to false. To make that more clear, I could say this dot has been hit equals false. But remember, animate is asynchronous. Andy, what does synchronous mean? If this code is synchronous, if of all these lines of code between 132 and 139 were synchronous, what would be the functionality? What would happen on these lines of code?
It would happen at the same time.
No, not at the same time. Synchronous is what code normally is, i.e. the first one has to happen, then the next one has to happen, then the next one has to happen, then the next one has to happen. If animate was synchronous, then this line of code would never happen until the animation was done. You understand that? But it's not synchronous, it's asynchronous, which means what happens? First, this line happens because that's synchronous. Then this line happens and starts off a whole new thread that starts animating the mole downward. But as the mole is animating downward, it then changes, has been hit to false. Almost immediately, like we're talking about fractions of a second, like millisecond, 0.02 milliseconds on average. Yes, sir.
Forget if you use this like analogy before, but like when that current animate function is running, that's added to a certain stack, while the has been hit would be added to a different stack, and both of those are running at the same time.
Well, the analogy I like to use is the pizza one. When you call up Domino's to make pizza, you don't sit on the phone with them while they make the pizza, right? Your operation of your life doesn't halt while you're waiting for pizza to be delivered. It's asynchronous. So you make an order, they start making pizza, and you go on with the rest of your life. Well, if in your steps of things are like do laundry, call Domino's and order pizza, and then eat pizza, the call Domino's and order pizza is asynchronous. So that goes off and does its own thing, and then immediately you start eating pizza. Well, there is no pizza to eat, so you are noshing on air pizza. Great diet plan, terrible plan if you actually want to live for long. So what we have to do is we have to make it so that has been hit, or in the case of this, what we want to do was reset hit state happens only after the animation is done, which means I need to take advantage of animation's callback function. So down here, I'm going to put comma function. I'm just going to make an anonymous one. And inside there, I'm going to put this dot reset hit state. For those of you just starting APIs, this problem will bite you in the butt having to do with the success handler. And at least 30% of you will have this problem happen. It doesn't matter how smart you think you are. It's just you're not used to this yet, and it'll bite you in the butt. Yeah?
Does the problem still happen if you use CSS to animate
Yes.
so how would you fix it then?
That's when we would use that event property of animation, of like whether or not the animation is ended. That's the better way, but it's harder. The easy way, but is not as clean, is to start a separate timer for the same amount of time. And at the end of that timer, then change something. So there's an event that triggers when CSS animations end. The problem is it's an event for every CSS animation on that element. So if you move something from left to right and top to bottom and the size, you'll get 3 triggers. This one isn't so bad because it's only up to down, so we could use it for that. But it's also not well supported in all browsers. It's a little bit hanky on some of them. The finished one is fairly robust nowadays, but there are other ones like when it starts and during that are not nearly as well supported. I'll do that. I'll go back to the other one next time and show you how that would work. So now, as I go to my Whackamole, it's got to go all the way through. Oh, hey, lots of errors. Oh, yeah. So, oh, that's right. I don't want to do this function like this. I actually want to do just straight up this. Actually, I want to just call this .reset state on that. But now I'm going to have the problem of my potentially of this being altered. So let's see if that causes us problems. And I'm going to take this back down to 1 second to make it a little faster. Missing. Oops. It seems like it works. I'm going to go up to this reset hit state and make sure that it is modifying the right thing. It seems like it is. Console.log reset hit state of this. Yep. Oh, no, see, it is. It's the div, not the mole. This on that one is the element that was being animated. So I need to take and bind this so that way it doesn't lose itself during the course of that. Now, when I animate, clear this, you can see the difference. Now it's the mole again, not the element. So you want to be very careful of that when you're using event handlers. They typically a change. Sorry, they changed this property parameter. Yes.
So in the moment that you're using bind this, setting whatever that mole is.
Whatever this was at line 138, you're inside the event when it happens, the function that's being called, this will be what this was on line 138.
Prior to being in the set hit state, right?
Yes, because before what was happening is when reset hit state was being called, this was being remapped to the DOM element that was being animated. So now, let's see now. I'm going to change the background color just on its way when it gets hit so that it is definitively hit. I can see the difference. So let's say on handle hit, I'm going to make another function called something like this.show hit. I'm going to say this.DOM display dot add class hit mole hit, and then on reset hit state, I'm going to take it off. And then on mole hit on the CSS, background dash color. Actually, I kind of like it being green begins with and then red afterwards. So I'm going to change this one to green or nothing, none. And then background color red. No, didn't do it. So let me put a breakpoint on my mole hit. Mole mole. Where'd that go? Oh, I didn't call it. That's why. This dot show hit. Yeah.
Ship it.
And it seems like the score is accruing. So for example, if I hit this guy, now it's 32. Let me reset hit state. Let me get rid of that. Mm-hmm. Now, I kind of want to make some sort of, I don't know, blood-curdling squeal sound when they get hit too. So I've got a couple more minutes. And I haven't really done JavaScript, HTML, JavaScript audio elements necessarily. I've done with HTML elements, but it's not too much different. So let's look it up real quick. JS audio. That's going to give me a lot of weird stuff. So let me see W3 audio. That's the HTML one. I want the Maybe it might be in there. So audio DOM, audio object. There's a way of doing it. So JavaScript audio object MDN. Where, oh where? JS new audio. There we go, something. Yeah, just an audio file. So I could take something like this and go into each of my moles and put something like, say, this dot sound player is equal to a new audio object. And I need to find a suitable sound, so find sounds.com. Mouse squeak. Oh, that'd be annoying.
Ooh.
A little quieter, that might not be bad. Oh gosh, can I turn that down possibly? Oh, dare I play it? Oh gosh. God, none of these are very pleasant. I don't even want to go to this one. This one looks like it's just nothing but blowing out my eardrums. What else can we put in there? How much is mouse? Mouse click, mouse click, mouse click. Mouse rat squeak. Two together, great, thanks. I needed that like I needed a hole in my head. Okay, any guys suggestions for a sound?
Kind of got gunshot in it too. Try a bigger animal squeak, maybe. It won't be so high pitched.
What if it was like a capybara?
Capybara.
Do dog bark.
Mole. Nope, no mole.
I don't suppose the cartoon dog would work.
All right, well, I just need anything at the moment, so I'll just. I spell squeak wrong, maybe. That's there we go. We have a winner. Okay, time to do so you know ls make dir sounds cd sounds perl-o that file name. If you're in a Mac, you can do a curl command to pull a file directly from the internet into a folder. So Linux, you can do the same thing, except in Linux it would be wget. PC may have something like that, but I highly doubt it. But maybe like Git or something. But now there's my squeak.mp3, which may or may not work, but we'll find out. Go back to my code and then do sound/squeak.mp3. And then I'm going to put a function here of this dot play squeak is equal to a function. This dot sound player dot. I don't think it's dot. It is dot. Yeah, it is dot play. Dot play. Oops. And then in my hit, handle hit, show hit, play squeak, hide. Oops, didn't like that. File not found is not sound, maybe. PDD. Yeah, it sounds. SQUEA.
Sweet 32, right?
Oh, okay. Now, of course, I can hit it outside the actual mole itself. We'll want to fix that at some point. But, okay, now we got squeaked. I really should have also made another branch for that, but, you know, time was critical. So, yeah, basic mole whacking game that never ends, ever.
Until the mole rapture.
What I could do is I could retroactively, by the way, make some of these changes. So I could do stash some changes and then make another branch, but I'm not going to do it that right now. I'm going to say get add dot get commit dash m added show hide animation handlers, added proper hit reset timing, added hit sound play, added background hit color change. Get push, get branch, get push, rise, fall, mole, JS, do origin. And that squeaks it. Any questions? Now, I didn't necessarily plan on taking this a step further necessarily. I think I'm going to go on to the next thing. I think I told you guys about that I'm going to do the 39 games. You just could do it from scratch in JavaScript. So I think you guys benefit more from seeing something started and added to than you see something that is mostly done that's getting polished or added to at that point. It's not the polishing part you guys would have a problem with, right? If I gave you mostly complete code and you change something, you could probably do that at this point. What a lot of you have problems with is taking all the pieces that you know and starting something from scratch. That's usually the more difficult thing. Would you agree? That more the problem? So next time we'll start on Dodger, I think it was Dodgems or something like that. It's like basically like centipede in the way it falls from the top and you have to get out of the way of things. Okay?
Cute. Research is 40, so she doesn't have the connection.